There's a lot of confusion going on in the world about the two witnesses, and I made other videos about this, trying to give people some biblical guidance about the subject. And I'm going to make another video series about it because there's just so much I did not cover. So I hope you enjoy these videos and learn something from it. And as I said, here's something else I'm going to cover, and that's how many people think that one of the two witnesses is Moses. Now, Moses is not one of the two witnesses, and there's two reasons why. One is that God has never used anybody that is not of their generation. That's one thing I talked about in a previous video on this subject. You can watch that video if you want, so I'm not going into too much detail about that. Another reason that I will talk about is that if you look at what Moses did, people often associate Moses with, let's say, plagues, and one of them being turning the Nile River into blood. But here's a question. Is it Moses who turned the Nile River into blood? No. Moses did not turn the Nile River into blood. God turned the Nile River into blood. God told Moses to go to the Nile River and touch it with a stick. So what Moses did was go to the river and touch it with a stick. He didn't turn anything to blood. All Moses did was obey God and touch the water with a stick. God turned the Nile River into blood. Did Moses do any of the plagues? No. The only thing Moses did was obey God, and rightly so. He was right to obey him. But Moses did not have any power to perform any of these plagues. He had no authority to call down plagues. And neither did Elijah, but that's another video. Moses obeyed God. God's the one that did all of these plagues. But the two witnesses, I guess both of them, not one of them, they will have the authority, their own authority. By their authority, they will call down plagues. They are the ones that bring down plagues. That's a big difference between Moses and the two witnesses. The two witnesses, by their own authority given to them by God, can call down plagues as often as they want. Whatsoever plague they can imagine, by their own authority, they call it down. Nobody else in the history of mankind, including Moses, has been able to, by their own authority, call down supernatural plagues. So let me assure you, Moses is not one of the two witnesses. And the two witnesses have really nothing to do with Moses. There's no similarity whatsoever. What shall we say then? Shall we say that we can live in sin however we want because we're under grace and not under the law? God forbid. How can you possibly live a life of sin? How can you possibly choose to disobey the Lord and love Him? You cannot do that. You have to repent.